Hello, folks. It's Rich 220. I just got to say that all the connecting rod bearings are in. The oil pan's back up. There's oil in the engine. There's no problem with any of the cranking process. The battery may be a little bit slow or a little bit weak. That may be the problem with that. But on the other hand, the valve covers are not uh, they're not bolted down yet. For lack of better words, they don't have bolts. They have screws. Phillips head screws. Okay. But because the fan is a little more difficult to turn when the spark plugs are in, because what happens is it builds up compression. Okay. What I was told to do, and this is something that's got to be done anyway before I even try and start the car. So no more trying to crank it. I got to take the valve covers off, and I got to pull all 8 spark plugs out. So this way I can turn the fan with one hand and hold on to the push rod or rocker arm, which goes over the push rod, so I could feel the push rod going all the way down, which will be the base of the cam. Okay. Once I do that, then I'll know. Like you have to set the timing and everything else. So in other words, you have, say for example, 1 and 6 are adjacent to one another. There's a process to it. So what I have to do is I have to loosen all the rocker arms up just enough so that way they're not, rattling on the end where the spring is for the valve. Okay. And not to be fooled by the rocker arm going back. So in other words, you're just lifting up on the front end, not pushing back on the back end because that's going to push the push rod down. So I have to set the valves on this, and there's a certain way to do it. I'm going to be watching a couple other videos and stuff like that in order to make sure everything is right. The car will run because there's compression and because the engine did not lock up by me turning it by hand or by cranking it by the ignition. And it's not as slow as it was either, which was an indicator that the bearing had spun. Not all the way, but partially, and it had caught up underneath. So what it did was it pulled the little tab that locks into the connecting rod cap. Okay, it got behind it and pulled it out, and it wound up flattening it. So in other words, there was no scratches done to the journal in that process because first of all it wasn't run. Okay, I didn't run it, but apparently there was enough pressure on it to flatten it, and they're bendable tabs, so that's the way they're machined at the factory. So in the long run, so I don't sound like I'm confused and everything, because I'm really not. But my words don't come out right all the time, and people like to take advantage of that and make fun of me for it. I know what I have to do. That's the way it's been all along. Okay, a lot of people don't see it that way because I have my words scrambled every once in a while. But I'm old. You got to remember that. So it won't take too much longer for me to get this car running. Let's just put it that way. The battery that's in it, the reason why it sounds like it does is because the battery's weak. So I need to get another battery, probably a better one than the Walmart brand, because that's not doing anything. And putting a battery charger on it all day didn't help matters any at all either. So I think it's the matter of the cold cranking amps. I think that's what I need. So I hope you like this little insight video onto why I'm not running the car yet and what has to be done. So I have to go through 1357 on the driver's side and 2468 on the passenger side. And I have to go through taking all the spark plugs out and taking the valve covers off and turning it by fan to find out which piston comes up. One of them is the intake and one of them is the exhaust. And that's the way it's going to be. And there's going to be an adjacent piston on the other side that we're going to adjust. So in other words, if I bring up piston 1, 6 is going to be adjusted. Okay? So on and so forth. All right, like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and hit the bell for post notifications. I'll see you in the next one, folks. Bye.